All right, why don't we kick it off, man? Sound good to you?
I'm ready to go.
All right. Well, I'll start this off. First of all, I just want to thank VetSecCon for having us here today to talk about hacking your health. And for many of you that don't know kind of what this talk is going to be about, or a little bit of our story, we'll definitely go into that. But the big thing with this is that for me, why this resonates, especially for all the veterans out there, is that my whole life I've been extremely overweight, obese, never had control of my weight or my health. And the military was a great time for me because I was in the Marines for 5 years. The Marines, put me in a program that I had to conform to, right? I had to run and do PT and pass, the strength tests and things of that effect. And so it was a system that allowed me to be successful. But what I see for most folks that get out of the military is that system is not replicable outside unless you have somebody, yelling at you, screaming at you, or having you run or forcing you to do things. And they don't teach the foundation or basics of what that means from a health and longevity perspective, or what you can do to kind of put this in a daily routine. And so for me, I went right back to being obese. In fact, I became the largest I'd ever been in my entire life at 320 pounds. And, for me, I never really felt like I had control of my destination, my health, my energy for my family, my kids. And, for the first time in my life, I've really been able to change that. And I just hit 40 years old, and I'm the strongest, fastest, most healthiest I've ever been in my entire life. And so, today's talk is really around what you can do. And especially in cybersecurity, it's not just for veterans, but in cybersecurity, we live in such a sedentary type of lifestyle where we're always in front of a computer, high stress situations. And our mind and bodies are connected so well together that if one is amiss, the other one definitely is. So if you want to be the best hacker in the world, you want to be the best person at defense or application security or penetration testing or whatever, if your body isn't there, your mind's not going to be there. You're not going to be at your highest potential of what you could possibly do. And I saw symptoms of this. I was sluggish. I was tired. I did the same things that most folks in this industry do, where they up till 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, pounding liquor all the time, not taking care of my body, eating like crap. And, because of that, I started breaking down my body. I had heart surgery. I had, stomach surgery. I had a thyroid removed. I was having all these health problems, and we can change that. And it's just a matter of small changes that make a big thing in your life. And we'll get into all that as we go through. But, please ask questions. We want to make sure that you get what you need to out of this. But it's really important that, you take these small steps to make big changes in your life. But with that, I want to introduce Ben. So Ben, why don't you do a little bit of background yourself and how you're involved in this, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I think for me, the sort of the mindset piece is an important one because, as you said, if one's in line, the other is not in line. But the biggest thing that I've realized more recently is if the one is in line, they're both in line. And I think that that's the biggest piece in terms of what we can do from a health and nutrition perspective. For me, my background was, I was pretty much going down a dark, deep hole of going to drinking too many times a week. And it was spiraling out of control. I decided that I needed to make change, or I was going to live probably not very long. I then got into training, and then I got into coaching, and I sort of thought my thought behind that was, if I can change, then anybody can change, as long as they're in the right environment with the right sort of people around them with the right system. And obviously, in terms of fast forward.
Hey Ben, really quick, might want to maybe just shut off your video. Bandwidth's a little bit low, so it's kind of choppy. Just has to be. It's still understandable, but it's a bit choppy.
Okay. Does that work?
So let's give it a shot.
Okay. In terms of the podcast, obviously you and I started working together, and then from that point, the more and more people that came on board were in sort of cybersecurity, information security, the more and more similar struggles that I was seeing, and I thought there potentially could be a way that we could help a lot more people on a bigger scale. So we decided to do the podcast, and here we are, 63 episodes later, still doing a podcast.
Yeah, it's crazy. I can't believe we've gone that far. Yeah,
I know.
So, a little bit about myself. I've been in the security industry, obviously, for over 20 years. And my journey's been all over the place as far as, starting my own businesses. I'm the founder of Trusted Second Binary Defense. I really started kind of doing a lot of different things in my life to change what I'm doing, what you see from today. And you can see here kind of my different transformations. In fact, I should have put one more after the one to the left, which was extremely skinny Dave, where I was down to like 170 pounds and I just looked like bone. But I've come through a lot of different transformations as far as my body. And finally, again, if you look at the one on the right where I'm at today, very different person to the one on the left. I love the guy on the left, but today I'm having so much fun with this and all that good stuff. Also, I just want to throw it out there. If you notice that the tattoos are on a different side, I always get nailed for that one. One of them is with a mirror and one of them's not. So obviously a mirror is going to reverse things. So, if you see that my DerbyCon one is obviously, on this side, it's because it's in a mirror. So, for you conspiracy theorists out there, that is really me. That is so I just want to throw that one out there before we hit it. But I want to talk a little about our story as we go through this, because I think it's important to know where I was at, and from there kind of how a community and Ben really had helped me out. And then we'll talk about what that means and what you can do to really make those changes in lifestyle. And, I think everybody is like, oh, I need to do cardio. I need to take supplements. I need to do this. It's such a wrong approach to getting healthy. A supplement isn't going to help you. There's no fat burning pill that is magic that's going to help you unless it's prescribed by a doctor, designed for that. There's a new drug from the FDA just got approved, or there's a lot of success coming through. But I mean, at the end of the day, there's no real fat pill, thermogenics pill that's going to make you have a huge amount of success unless you got the nutrition down first and foremost. And the thing is that everybody's like, oh, I have to do cardiovascular work. I have to do cardiovascular work. Well, the cyclical effect of, and this is where I was at. I was going to Orange Theory, 5 times a week, just burning my body out. I mean, I was sore. I had, pain all over my body. My knees were failing. I had IT band issues. And I'm like, well, if I just keep pushing myself harder, I'll eventually lose this weight because I'm doing so much cardio. But, the issue with cardio is that cardio doesn't make you lose weight. Yes, it makes you burn more calories, but you're also more hungry because you're burning more calories. So if you don't get the nutritional aspects down, you're just going to continue to eat more and more food, which you're going to be in a calorie surplus, and you're going to continue to either gain weight or not have the desired effects with what you want to do. Also, when I had shaved the weight, if you look at my earlier pictures of my middle one, I wasn't happy with what I look like from a physique perspective. And I noticed in my middle one, I was starting to creep up and gain more and more weight again. I was losing control of my battle of my body. And for me, the aesthetics is great. Okay. I feel great going to a beach and taking my shirt off, which I was extremely self-conscious before. I would never take my shirt off. I would never, but that's to be honest with you, the smallest thing that I received as far as a benefit. My confidence levels, my energy levels, my ability to be there for my children and my kids and my family. I coach my kids' basketball teams. I'm active all the time. They see it and they're changing and they're understanding nutrition and how they can live healthy lifestyles. This has been a cataclysmic effect that has changed my body, my mind, and my ability to be at a very top level very quickly. And, it's not, if you look at what I do today, I didn't start off doing all of that today. I start off really small, building blocks to get to where I'm at today. And those small changes really made it so that we were able to build on something, a solid foundation of a house, to build a really nice house on top of it. And where I was at, and I'll kick it over to Ben here in just a second, to get his perspective on their side of the story. But, I was losing the battle of my body. I was losing the battle of myself. I was gaining weight. I didn't know what to do. I was reading all these things like, hey, take this supplement, take this pill, do keto, do this or that. And I would do keto and I would have, I'd lose 20 pounds and then I'd gain 60 back, and then I would, get out of regimen. I'd do something different. I would just continuously fail. I was hitting rock bottom. I didn't know what to do. And I was starting to panic again because I'd done all this work to lose all this weight. And at the end of the day, I just was losing myself again. And as you get older, it gets worse. It's harder to do this type of stuff. So, I started reaching out and looking at like a few different programs. And for me, kind of like the military, somebody to hold you accountable was really important to me. So I started looking at personal trainers, and Ben happened to reach out. I didn't know Ben at all, and Ben happened to reach out to me out of the blue and said, hey, I noticed that you're looking for a PT. Would you want to have a discussion? And what I liked about talking with Ben when I first started, and I didn't know if Ben was going to be successful with me or not, or what he was or his values, but one thing that I noticed right off the bat was he was genuine. He cared about me, where I was at, what I was failing at, and then built a program around me that was a framework for me to be successful. It wasn't, hey, we're going to do 5 days of cardio. You're going to eat 100 calories, and you're going to have a 6-pack in 2 months or, 4 weeks, although the bullshit that you see out there. For me, it was a program that I could put into place that allowed me to be successful for the rest of my life. And it's something that's replicable. It's no secret sauce. We're going to talk about it today about what that is. But the community aspect around what I got with Ben and his folks that he was also working with, training at the time and doing the same stories was really beneficial for me. You think about this in the military, you have camaraderie and friendship, and, you're relying off of the person to the left and the right of you to, to rely on every single day for your job or your life or whatever else. Very similarly, in the security industry, we have the security community that works together to help one another, share successes, our research, and those types of things. It's the same thing in fitness too, where, having people that are like-minded about you, that uphold you, uplift you, and continue to push you forward also equates that success. So I started having some really initial success. And, from there, we started a podcast and a bunch of other stuff. But this is kind of our story and what you can do to get in that similar situation to help yourself.
Yeah, I think for me, I don't often really talk about the struggles that I faced at the start, and I obviously came from an entirely different direction. I was always skinny fat. So for me, it was always about gaining weight and putting on weight. And I went through a couple of different coaches. I went through buying diet plans because I thought that was going to be the key to my success. And I remember so clearly buying a diet plan for £50 sterling, and it came in the post because it was before the internet pretty much. And it was 30 pages thick, and there was a supplements list with £400 worth of supplements. I was like, geez, I really have to do this. So I had my own struggles along the way. And then my first ever real coach that took me seriously, or I took seriously, I guess, what he did was give me the understanding of myself and my own body and what I needed. And from that point, I was like, okay, this needs to be completely tailored to the person. And that's ultimately anybody that I've ever spoken to, anybody that I've ever coached, the initial thing that I say to them, or we have the conversation about, is this needs to be about you. It's not that, I see you as this person, that person, or this person, and I put you into this box. It's literally a case of, right, okay, what can you commit to? What isn't going to totally turn your life upside down? And then how can we improve that week on week? And ultimately for me, and I guess for anybody, and Dave, you can back me up on this or not, I think for anybody sort of off the back of that, whenever they start to find out that it's something that they can do longer term and something that they can do as part of their overall lifestyle, it becomes much more manageable. And I think that is often the biggest hurdle, because as you said, you can get from A to B doing keto, or you can get from A to B doing, endless amounts of cardio, but it's can you do that forever, and is it sustainable? Right. And I think the sustainable piece is the biggest piece of it.
Yeah. I did keto for 4 months, and I'm like, man, I could live off of eating meats and cheeses and fats and everything else. And again, I had some success with it, but believe me, 4 months of just eating meats and cheeses and fats, you're like, I hate food. I hate meats. I hate cheeses. I'm never eating them again. For me, and some people, there's stories of people that can do keto for the rest of their life, and that's fantastic. You can do that. You're a extremely small percentage of that. And so, instead of keto as a method for a framework, why not understand your body, how it works, and build a framework that works for you, that's sustainable for the rest of your life? And that's what we're talking about here, and what's successful. And Dave had a question, and I want to make sure we'll definitely hit on this, Dave, around, his question was, I know one of the biggest things is nutrition, and we absolutely will be covering this. But, I don't know where to go to understand the research and mentorship and advice to eat effectively. So what do you trust as far as research? And, here's the thing, there are fundamentals and mechanics. So when I went into this, very heavy on researching, studying, learning, like anything else. If I'm learning a new way to do a buffer overflow, or a new way to, a new technique that comes out, that I'm researching a bunch of code, maybe something I don't know anything about, but I have to sit there and have to study and understand what's occurring. Same thing for our bodies and how we work. Everybody's different, but the fundamentals are the same. At the end of the day, we're eating calories. Our body burns calories. So if we eat less calories, we burn more calories, which equates to we have to release fat stores. We burn more fat. But there's ins and outs of that about how we balance that in our lives, a framework around how you do it. And we'll talk about coaching and what that means. But again, all this stuff is readily available. It's just finding the right places to go. If you go to nutritional things online, it's a bunch of, part of my language, but it's a bunch of bullshit. You have this fat and this thing and smoothies that you eat for the rest of your life. I mean, listen, the cleanses, you're doing a 7-day cleanse where you're basically drinking water and, this little, turmeric, thing that's going to reduce your inflammation. This stuff is not sustainable long-term. So you have to look at this from a longevity perspective Did I spell story wrong? Really? No, I didn't. Okay. Sorry. It looks backwards on my screen. That's so weird. Anyways, I thought I spelled story wrong. I was like, anyways, sorry about that. But these things aren't what you can do long term. So what we're going to be talking about today is long term. And we're going to kick it off with probably the most absolute fundamental part of this, which is your mindset. So Ben, why don't you talk a little about mindset and what that means? Because I mean, for me, when we talk about in going into this, and we'll get into nutrition next, but when you talk about getting into mindset, where I see most people fail is they try to tackle too many things too fast. You have to start off extremely small. And these small things, if you look at like Atomic Habits, which is a great book to read, by the way, I heavily recommend it. There's also another great one by Aubrey Marcus, which I have over here somewhere. So here's Atomic Habits. It's tiny changes with remarkable results. This is a really good book to talk about it, but they talk about making, a small percentage change in your life, which equates to massive changes 6 months, a year, 10 years down the road. And when we talk about mindset, it's getting into a routine. And there's a lot of science on this around how our bodies fight new things. It's there's a reason for it. We are very good at what we do in our tribes, where we used to not have electricity and food that was high in calories delivered to our house, delicious foods that are engineered to be high in fat and calories and everything else. We had specializations to help that overall village or tribe succeed. So if you had too many of them and too broad, there'd be issues because you wouldn't be able to home in and make, the area that you do the best. So we fight new things in our bodies. And so in order for you to really take this on, you have to continuously repeat it and get into a mindset that allows you to continuously grow. So I think for me, mindset is probably number one. And one of the foundational pillars that Ben talks about, and I'll let Ben do it because he can do it way better than me, but having the mindset of I'm going to make this change. And it's something that you have to do. Like when I work out in the morning, I have to work out. There's no option. Like I can wake up and I could be super tired. I could have drank the night before. Guess what? I'm going to pay for it, but I'm still going to go work out. So, you have to have a mindset that allows you to say, listen, this is a habit. Just like I brush my teeth or I put, deodorant in my armpits. Those are the things that I have to do as part of my day-to-day routine.
Yeah, I think it's exactly what Jack says. There are people 1% better than yesterday, and that's literally all that we ask. And those small changes will have a huge impact down the line. And I always reference it back to me starting in the gym initially. Like if I hadn't have committed to going that one day, I wouldn't have had a change in career. I wouldn't be here speaking to you guys. I wouldn't do the podcast. I would never met Dave. Like all these things can have such a big impact down the line. For me, the mindset thing, the way that I always used to describe it whenever I was having initial consultations with clients was whenever your nutrition and training are in line, everything else in life falls in line. And what I actually meant by that, somebody put it back to me years later, was it's the discipline that the training and nutrition gives you allows you to filter into every other aspect of your life. And you'll probably hear us talk about discipline quite a lot. But I think with the mindset thing, it's almost if you think in the right way, you will act in the right way. And what I mean by that is I try and get the sort of thought process I try and give each of my clients is visualize the person that you want to become or what type of person you want to become, and sort of base your actions and choices and decisions around that rather than just freeballing the whole thing and just making decisions willy-nilly. If you sort of have a second to think in between each decision, whether it's what you deem to be a good decision or a bad decision based on nutrition or not going to the gym or drinking or whatever it might be, and start to build your day-to-day habits and routines around the person, visualize the person that you want to become. And I think that's something that definitely helps me. And I think the biggest thing with mindset, even that I've relearned recently, is if you are 99% committed, it's hard. But if you're 100% committed, it's much easier. And one of the biggest things in terms of overcoming that I see with an awful lot of people is the sort of, I guess, identity shift that needs to come alongside it. And what I mean by that is it's not well, I'm going to the gym because I do this program, or I'm going to the gym for this amount of time because I want to lose this weight. It's like you need to have all these things become a part of your identity. You go to the gym because you're a person who goes to the gym. And I think if you get your head around that, it becomes then a part of your lifestyle, which leads us nicely into, I assume, what is going to be the next slide.
Well, I go into key concepts that you need to understand, which is nutrition.
Okay. Okay.
And nutrition is such an important aspect of this and building the habits around that. And Dave, to your question that you'd asked before around like, what do I believe, what I don't believe. Here's the thing. At the end of the day, we have what's called our total daily energy expenditure, or TDE. Okay. And that is how many calories we burn on a daily basis. Our bodies have to burn energy in order for us. It's ATP. It's what we do. It's how our bodies operate. When we lift our hands up, we're burning energy. If we're bouncing up and down, we're lifting energy. If we're doing something highly intensive where our heart rate's super high, we're obviously exerting more energy. Resistance training, having to use our muscles, both short twitch and fast twitch fiber muscles, we're exerting energy. So energy has to come from somewhere. And that comes from food sources. But it also comes from, obviously, our fat stores, which is, what our bodies use to release in order for us to have energy. And why that's important to understand is that, if there's different goals that everybody has. So when I first started with Ben, I'm like, Ben, I want to be super skinny and have huge muscles. Okay, well, what does that mean? Okay. Well, first, let's talk about shaving off the weight that you have. How do we do that? But I noticed that when I shaved off the weight, I wasn't happy where I was from a physique perspective, or even like a strength perspective. I wanted to be strong. So in order to do that, you have to build muscle. So there's all these different things that kind of tie into our objectives. And what Ben is talking about, of having a mindset in there, start off small with what you want to accomplish, track those wins, and then with a long-term goal of where you want to go. And that's going to evolve. Like for me, I would have, 2.5 years ago, I would have been happy with where I am today, but I'm not happy with where I am today. I want to keep going. So understanding calories in versus calories out and what you eat is extremely, extremely, extremely important. And this is where discipline comes into place. And this is where having a framework in place really helps you. So total daily energy expenditure is the calories that we burn on a daily basis. And that is different for everybody based off of how much activity you use, your age, are you a man or woman? All of these things have different impacts that impact how many calories you have. And there's some great calculators out there. If you go to our website, wehack.health, in the resources section, there is a very, one of the most accurate ones that I found, a total daily energy expenditure calculator there. And you can put in your age, your weight, gender, as well as, any other, general exertion activities that you do. And it'll calculate basically a general range for your total daily energy expenditure. And this is kind of your base level of what you have to focus on. So let's just say your total daily energy expenditure is 2,000 calories a day. That means that if you were to eat 2,000 calories a day, give or take some, you would probably maintain the same amount of weight. Okay. Now, here's the thing. If you shrink those a few hundred calories a day, let's just say you go down to 1,800 calories a day, which, if you add that up over 7 days, that's going to be thousands of calories that you're dropping from a deficit perspective. You should expect to lose some weight. So, in order to gain weight or to lose weight, you have to either be in a surplus to gain weight or a deficit to lose weight. Basic concepts here, okay? We'll talk about macros here in just a second. But when it comes to nutrition, filling in those calories is really important. I'll see a lot of people that are like, okay, I'm going to eat 1,000 calories a day. Well, what happens there is your body basically goes into starvation mode and holds on to everything as you go through. And it also makes you feel like total crap, and you don't have the energy to complete what you need to on a daily basis. Again, think short, small changes, long-term impact. So when you take calories and you shave off 1,000 calories, what's going to happen? Well, your body, there's actually some really good science around people that are super skinny and have a high metabolism are usually people that are bouncing around or have twitches or bounce their knees. By bouncing your knee, you actually burn like an additional 1,000 calories a day just by bouncing your knee and having an active knee. It's crazy, right? Those types of things, though, like if you were to shave off 1,000 calories, your body's going to be like, hey, I'm not bouncing my knee anymore. I don't have enough energy for that. So your body's smart and it winds itself down when you shrink those calories. So if you're taking 1,000 calories or 900 calories, it's insane. It's horrible for your body. Your body doesn't have enough nutrients, doesn't have enough things to go through the day. You're going to have brain fog. So you want to start small, just a small deficit, and then start to incorporate other things like going out for walks and getting 10 to 12,000 steps a day. That's going to burn 700 calories or so. On top of that, and if you're eating the right way, think about that. You're creating a little bit of a deficit there. You're going to start to see the poundage, and you should probably expect to see, depending on how overweight you are, you can expect to see 4 to 5 pounds, depending on if you're pretty heavy. And for me, I was dropping probably 4 to 5 pounds when I was 320 pounds. Or 1 to 2 pounds is about average of what you should expect to lose on a weekly basis. And if you're not losing that, then just shave off another 100 pounds, and you start, or I'm sorry, not 100 pounds, 100 calories, and you start to see if that balances out. But small changes to see where your active levels are will allow you to start to tailor this. And it's not keto. It's not, Atkins or whatever the hell the diet is. It's not, intermittent fasting, which we'll talk about a little bit of that in a little bit. It's one of those things. It's a framework that says, hey, calories, track my calories of what I'm eating. And I'll talk about how you do that. But you track your calories that you're eating and try to stay underneath that level. And if you're doing cardio, cool, you're going to create more of a deficit, which means you'll lose weight faster, but ensure you're getting enough calories to sustain the day as you go through.
Sorry, I'm totally distracted. Yeah, I'm just totally distracted answering questions in the chat. But yeah, one of the actual questions I'll touch on instead of answering it here, it's relating to calories as well. It is about the body holds on to fat if you're not feeding enough food. What happens is basically, if you think about food as fuel for your body, if you're not giving it enough fuel to do the things it needs to do on a daily basis, it'll start to slow all those things down that Dave's talking about. So all that fidgeting, all that, like, get something that you'll generally have a little bit more energy in, even if it is training or cardio or whatever it is, you're going to do those with lower intensity subconsciously because your body's trying to reserve as much fuel or calories as possible. So it's not that it holds on to fat, it just doesn't do things as with the same intensity that would if you do have the food. And that's why I always try and find a good balance with, in fact, I say this to everybody that I ever have a conversation with. My goal with anybody that I work with is to get their body in a position that they can handle and eat and process as much food as possible and still move towards their goal, whatever that is. Because food ultimately is the fuel for your body. And if you take it super low, things will start to slow down. Your body will start to cut off different processes that it just doesn't want to do. And it comes back to that sort of fight or flight, rest or digest. Like, it's about finding the balance of having your calories just at the right amount that it still allows you to function, have the energy, have the focus, be able to train at a certain level, be able to do your cardio at a certain level, and still be in a deficit, rather than just eating 900 calories because you think that's going to save your life, and then you feel like shit all day, you don't have any energy, you have brain fog, and everything is a bit more challenging. I think that's the piece on the calories being super low.
Yep. And the way we want to look at this is, what can I eat and how do I track? Okay. And here's a promise that I made to myself. And I just looked at my fitness pal. So I was looking at just a second ago. So on my fitness pal, which is what I use, and you don't have to use my fitness pal, it's just one of many. But I have logged, I've logged over 782 days without missing one day of logging calories. And this is something that I did as a promise to myself, that if I don't do this, I'm not following a routine. I'm not following something that I can use to change. And those are the things that, I think, if you make a promise to yourself, you can go and do. So for me, I log calories in MyFitnessPal. I use the pro version because it allows you to then add your calories in. And then when you add your calories, it'll show you how many you have as you're going through. Now, a lot of questions I'll get is like, well, if I do cardio, it'll automatically adjust my calories to have more calories. Don't do that. Base calories that you use a day. I'm doing more cardio, I'm not going to eat more food. I'm going to keep it within that base calories of what I use on a regular basis and average that in as we go along. So, for me, it's really important that I track calories. And it's not going to be a perfect science. You're going to go out to restaurants. You might have ice cream. You're not going to know the exact calorie counts. Being as close as you possibly can, I think, is important. And when you get more refined in this, it takes me probably 30 seconds to a minute prior to me eating to add my calories in, right? And most of the main restaurants will post their calorie counts and things like that. But it's important to track your calories and understand what you're putting in your body so you can understand calories in versus calories out. Now, really quick, I want to break down macros because this is a really important aspect of it. So, you have fats, carbohydrates, and protein. Protein is going to be broken down into amino acids, which your body then uses for protein synthesis, which allows you to maintain and build muscles. When you wake up in the morning, your body's actually in a muscle catabolismic state, which means that it's eating away at your muscles. It's using that for energy. It's using that to start the day off. So we have to stop that process. So usually, drinking essential amino acids, which is, or branched chain amino acids or essential amino acids, it will stop that process and give your body the nutrients to not start eating away at your muscles. But we have to get adequate protein to ensure that we have some muscles. Now, here's the thing. When you build muscle requires calories to maintain. So as you get higher and higher muscle, the more calories you're going to have to consume. So when I started with Ben was at, what was that, like 2,000 calories? Was that
yeah, around 2,200 training days and 2,000 non-training days.
Yeah. So I've been as high as 4,000 calories with Ben, as I'm going through, different stages. So, my calories have increased, and I would say my total daily energy expenditure was probably around, 2,200 to 2,300 calories. it's probably more around 2,800 to 3,000 calories right now from a total daily energy expenditure perspective. So the more muscle you have, the more you can eat, because you have to have more calories for this. So protein is muscle, 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 muscle. We have to make sure that we're getting enough adequate protein. The general rule of thumb is 1 gram of protein per 1 pound of lean body mass. That doesn't mean your entire mass. It means lean body mass. So if you're around 20% body fat, and there's that's hard to really calculate. But if you're excessively overweight, you want to pretty much calculate, hey, what do you think your general body mass is going to be from a muscle perspective? You're just starting off, it's going to be relatively low. As you increase, that protein needs to increase as well. I'm sitting at probably around 17%, 16% body fat right now. So if I take 16% body fat, I have a scale that kind of calculates it. It's not exactly any science unless you're going to do like a body scan at a place. But so I know 16%, shave that 16% of body fat off. That's going to be roughly around my lean body mass. So I try to get around 200 to 220 grams of protein a day, which is a lot. But obviously, I've been working out and doing a lot of muscle building. So you don't necessarily need to go that way. So protein's number one. Then you have to figure out what's a good balance between fats and carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are energy. So the more carbs you eat, and if you eat them strategically, it'll allow you to have enough energy and sustainability throughout the day. But that doesn't mean simple sugars and things to that effect. It means good carbohydrates, like complex carbohydrates, will give you a nice clean burn. If you need some immediate energy, fruits and things like that can be beneficial. But at the end of the day, carbs will sustain energy, allows you to have a nice amount of energy throughout. So usually for me, when prior to working out, I will have either simple carbohydrates if it's like a half hour before or 15 minutes before, or I'll eat complex carbohydrates if it's like an hour or 2 hours before, so I have enough energy to complete my resistance training. And then from there, I'll eat carbohydrates afterwards to replenish my stores. And then from there, I kind of balance fats and carbohydrates. But everybody works differently. You have to kind of play with those within your calorie confines to see what makes you feel better. Some people prefer more higher fats, higher protein, and lower carbohydrates. Perfectly fine. Whatever works best for you to hit those goals and those macronutrients. But at the foundation, the pillar of what we're talking about here and what you should start off with, literally, you should not start off with going to cardio. You shouldn't start off with resistance training. You should start with getting a system in place that you can be consistent with on tracking your calories and tracking your macronutrients. Once you have that at a decent spot, you're primed to be successful in the rest of the things that you try. This one habit starts everything else. It comes down to this piece right here.
Yeah, the thing for nutrition is you want to keep it as simple as possible, because whenever it starts to get super complicated, that's whenever it becomes difficult day to day. And again, you'll know this, and anybody who has listened to me speak about this before, they'll know that, for me, I just look at a total calorie goal and a total protein target. And we work on that to begin with. Generally, 95% of people can probably make progress just focus on those things. And the reason that I do that is with everything that I do, I want to make sure it's the lowest effective dose for 2 reasons. Number one, I don't want it to be super complicated. And number two, I always want room to grow within the program. So, if we're 6 months in and we start to hit a plateau, I can start to look at where other things come from in terms of fats and carbs and what way your food's made up. And the thing about it is I've found over time, as Dave said, people just prefer to eat in different ways. So some people like to eat higher fats. I prefer to eat lower fats and higher carbs. And that has just become something that I've realized over time. So instead of me setting numbers that realistically, I think I've probably only hit exactly one time in the past 8 years of tracking my food. It's unrealistic to be able to hit that every single day. So just hitting a protein target and a calorie target to begin with, and then allowing the sort of fats and carbs to fall in is probably the simplest way to manage it.
Yeah, and MyFitnessPal is great because it will allow you to track all of that. So you have a breakdown of your macros, your carbs, your proteins, everything else, and it also has like a scan barcode option, so you can scan the barcode off of the package, and it'll show you the nutritional values off of it. So again, nutrition first, foundation of that house, and then you build on top of that. So for me, if you get this part and it's a promise to yourself, it's a habit that you form, and the first few weeks are going to be a pain in the ass. You're going to be like, really, do I really need to count this seriously? I'm eating a Nutri-Grain bar. Okay, well, yes, I need to log everything I'm doing. And here's the thing, don't lie to yourself. Like if you're going to overeat, log it. Don't lie to yourself about, oh, I'm just going to have this small thing here, and yeah, I'm going to go over, but I don't care. The days, here's the thing, I go over on days. So yesterday's a great example. Once a year, I go out on, we get a party bus and we go haunted house hopping. I don't drink often, but we go drinking and we go haunted house hopping with a bunch of buddies. I knew this. So what I did for the rest of the day is I just, focused solely on protein in the morning and in the afternoon. And then in the evening, I had, I think, around 1,500 calories to play with at night. So I knew that I ate 2 pieces of pizza, which is the first time I've eaten pizza, I think, in like a year. But I had 2 pieces of pizza, and then I had some drinks. And I knew that, hey, it wasn't going to be a great day and I may go over on calories, but guess what? That's one day. But guess what today is? Today is a good day. I just had a protein shake. So, I had 50 grams of protein, 2 scoops of protein, 255 calories. Good to go, right? I'm starting the same plan again. So we can fail at this every so often. We can have, days where we go out and just have a good time with friends and overeat and whatever. That happens. But you have to get back into that system of it doesn't become a habit that you do every single time. You have to focus on this as being a primary goal for yourself and a promise to yourself that you're going to go back into this. And I think that's where, from a mindset perspective, a lot of people fail, is that they get into this thing where like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. Okay, no, I'll do it the next day. Like resistance training. Oh, I'm going to go today. Now I'm too tired. I'm going to go do it tomorrow. And then tomorrow becomes a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and you're out of that cycle. Listen, get in the mindset that you have no option. Tell your mind that I'm tired. This sucks. I should have went to bed earlier, but I'm still training. I have a rule, which is if I'm not feeling it, if I don't feel like I'm training today, I'm still going to go to the gym and I'm still going to break a sweat. And after I break a sweat, if I still don't feel like I need to be there, at least I made the effort to actually go to the gym and break a sweat, and I'll leave. Guess what? Out of the 2.5 years that I've been focusing on this, I have not left the gym once after I've gone and broken a sweat. So, making that mindset change of I have to do this. This is a habit, just like I put on deodorant, just like I do something else. Those habits start to, and again, these are small changes. What's 30 seconds of adding calories before you eat? You don't have 30 seconds a day. Listen, you can lose all the weight you want to without ever doing cardio or without ever doing resistance training. It's all a matter about nutrition. So that's 90% of the battle right there is nutrition. And then the rest of it, if you want to get certain types of physiques or lose the weight or whatever and be toned, there's other things you can do to help that out. So at the end of the day, these small habits, big changes, but you have to do it yourself. You have to commit to it. And you have to say, listen, I'm done with this stuff. It's going to be a habit. It's a promise to myself I'm going to make, and I'm going to stick with it.
Yeah, I think exactly what you said there. Like with the days that you don't want to go to the gym, like it's hard. Like if you take past the calorie counting thing, like going to the gym and fitting it in, and the sessions are hard. And there's no, like, I don't try and bullshit people about that. Like, it is a difficult thing to do, pushing yourself, continuing to progress. It's a hard thing to do in general, even still now, however many years later, but it's a difficult thing to sort of get into first time round. But it sure as shit is worth it. And if it wasn't difficult, then everybody would be doing it and everybody would run about in great shape. And to me, the difficulty aspect is what makes it worthwhile. And for me, again, like, it's not necessarily about the gym in itself. It's not necessarily about lifting weights. The thing that I enjoy the most is the progress. I just enjoy progressing, and that leads back into the mindset thing. It's like if I feel like I can progress in the gym, I feel like I can progress in anything else that I'm doing, and that is, all these things start to filter into every other aspect of your life, which I think is important to do as well.
Dude, I'll tell you, since I started this journey, I'm the happiest I ever have been in my life. My brain fog is gone. My energy levels are through the roof. I work more efficient at work in my businesses. I'm more pleasant to be around. Like all of these things that, I was struggling with. Granted, I was always like a positive person, but like I never felt great, right? I feel amazing today, more so than I ever have in my entire life, because I've made these small changes. And, if I had to give like 3 small things that you could change today, and Ben, I'll give you your small, you can do your first 3, but 1, obviously tracking calories. 2, just getting out there and moving your body. Go get steps. Don't do cardio. Listen, I'm not saying cardio is bad, by the way. I do HIIT training twice a week. I love cardio. I love running. Cardio is great for cardiovascular health. It's not going to help you lose weight unless you have the nutrition aspects down. Okay. It's not going to give you muscles. It's not going to be one of those things that is going to be a complete game changer. So everybody starting off with cardio is the wrong approach. And like people are like, I'm going to go cardio 5 times a week. No. Just start small, make things that you can be successful at, and just getting out there and getting some steps. Go walk for a half hour or 45 minutes, get 8,000 steps. The rest of the day, you're probably going to get another 2,000 or 3,000. So you're doing 10,000 steps a day. That's like 550, 600 calories a day that you typically wouldn't even burn. And if you're eating nutritionally well, you're going to start to lose those weight. So small changes. So for me, the nutritional aspects of counting calories, staying within those calories as best as you possibly can, knowing that you're going to have some, days that you go above, happens to all of us, but more positive days than not on that, getting some steps in. And then the third one is getting some sort of resistance training put in. And you don't have to go to the gym 5 times a week, 6 times a week, 4 times a week. I would say if you can get in 2 lifts a week, that are full body, or three would be ideal. 3 is like the most perfect number. But 2 is great as well. You go to the gym twice a week, do some full body exercises. I mean, it has so much benefit to your body. So just a breakdown on supplements really quick, because most supplements are bullshit. But like vitamin D, for example, hits like something like 45% of your overall DNA. It's actually a hormonal supplement that hits that. Same thing for resistance training. Our bodies need resistance. They need tasks in order for our bodies to be healthier. They break down. They don't use certain parts of our body. We don't grow. We don't stay healthy. So by incorporating just some basic resistance training in place and starting off small, getting better with form and technique and getting heavier, that will allow you to be much more successful. So if you can get to the gym twice a week, and there's some great programs out there and recommendations out there. Jeff Nippert has a lot of really great programs that you can go through, but there's a million different programs out there. Just do full body exercises at the gym, dumbbells, keep it simple. It'll start to make a big impact on you just by going to the gym, getting out there and accomplishing something. So those are my top 3 things that I heavily recommend. Tracking calories, getting the steps in, and trying to incorporate some resistance training. And I can't emphasize resistance training enough. The more muscle you are able to build, the more you're able to eat, but the more flexibility you have with your body. And people will hey, I need to drop 20 pounds. What does that mean? 20 pounds is a number. It doesn't mean that in 20 pounds, you're going to be, happy with yourself or everything else that goes on there. How do you sustain that? If you want to drop 20 pounds, cool, and you're happy there, cool. How do you sustain that in a framework the rest of your life? I found that when I dropped 20 pounds, I wasn't happy where I was at. I wanted to build muscle. Cool. It has a lot of health benefits there. Those are the things that I think make a big difference.
Yeah, the 3 things for me would be start to take control of your routine, whether that, both your morning and evening routine, probably more specifically your evening routine, because especially within this space, a lot of people struggle to get to sleep or stay asleep. And ultimately, if you nail your sleep, the impact that has on you the following day in terms of hunger hormones, your leptin and ghrelin hormones, that in itself will massively, it will allow you to have great success by just actually controlling that one thing in terms of sleep. And I think the majority of us can admit that we are underslept at some point throughout the weeks, months, years, whatever it is. The second thing would be hydration. And Tom, you can shout out on this. The first thing that I told them was we need to make sure that you're getting enough water. And the same thing, it will keep you fuller. It will keep you focused. It will give you enough energy. Those 2 things are relatively easy to start to get into your daily habits and your daily routines. And the third one would be some form of output. It doesn't need to be specific to steps or cardio or resistance training, something to physically move your body. And one of the biggest changes for me from going from working on the gym floor and doing 30,000 steps a day, being active and being on the gym, coaching clients face to face, is I now essentially have an office job. And the biggest struggle for me was that transition from actually really having to make an effort to go outside and get steps in or be active, because it used to just be literally part of my job. So the 3 things for me are nail your routine, both morning and evening. And it doesn't need to be a whole ordeal. It doesn't need to be I get up at this time and then I do 20 minutes meditation and then I sit my head for 20 minutes and then I have a cold shower and then I read 10 books and then I journal on the list. It just needs to be 3 things that you can stick to, have a couple of wins at the start of the day. And the same with the evening routine, something that can get you into the sort of space that you're going to sleep. Take, no devices after a certain time, something that you can do to sort of chill out and go to bed at the same time every night. Simple as that. Then make sure you're getting enough water. I generally tend to recommend 3 to 4 liters, which is in ounces 100 to 120 ish. And then some sort of movement throughout the day, because I realize, and I will admit myself, that I can get so caught up in work. There is always work to do, and I can guarantee 99% of the time, if you're in a place where you're oh no, I just need to get this done, I need to sleep on. If you take 20 minutes to go outside and get your head out of your ass and come back, you will be so much better whenever you get back to work, more productive, get more shit done in a shorter, better space of time.
So we're running a little bit up on the time mark here. I want to hit a couple last things very importantly. First of all, supplements in most cases are complete bullshit. Don't buy supplements. You don't need them unless you're tailoring things you're deficient at, okay? Multivitamins are a good idea. Fish oils are a great idea. Other than that, and maybe some creatine, don't buy a supplement that's going to be fat loss, whatever. They're bullshit. Get your mindset in place, get your nutrition in place, start moving your body. That's going to have the most desired effects on things. The one thing I want to say that was been highly successful for me is community. In my security career, in my life, being surrounded by people that are positive, that bring you up, is my whole mantra. I'm all about positivity. I'm all about uplifting people, their successes, sharing those successes and failures. We fail all the time. Community is extremely important. And for me, that has been my mantra since I came into this industry, about uplifting people and being positive and helping one another. Community is really, really important to have. So we have a Discord server that you can join. It's free. There's no payments whatsoever. We just uplift one another, ask questions, share knowledge, post your successes, your failures. We have people there that are like, man, I don't feel like going to the gym. And you have 50 people that are homing in on you, like, get in it there, go do it. It's going to be awesome. Show us some successes. Accountability and positivity is so, so, so critical here. And please join our Discord server, and also, tag us on We Hack Health on social media. If you have questions or just want to share your successes or stories or whatever, that's a big thing. One thing I want to hit on with Ben, and I just want to be perfectly clear, Ben is my trainer. I'm not part of his business. I pay full price for him as a personal trainer. I don't make any money off this whatsoever. My whole mantra and security has always been share, my information, my tools, free, whatever. I share my successes and my failures, and I've had a lot of success with Ben. And that's why I take my successes and I try to share with other people. So if you're interested in what Ben does and getting a personal trainer, he just released this new program called Hacks version 1. And it's much more affordable than a fully dedicated personal trainer, but you get all the perks of a customized trainer with you, a framework, everything we're talking about, progress photos, calories, helps you manage that whole system. I'm really excited about this because it's going to help a lot of people and you can reach more folks with it. And you get access to Ben anytime, which is awesome. Reviews, Q&As, meetings with folks to go through things, and having that community that is all striving for the same thing. So if you're interested in what Ben's doing with Hacks, take a look at his stuff right there. One of the things that I posted, this was about a year ago, well, 2 years ago, it was my journey. And if you get just 30 minutes of your time, take a look at this. Just look up Hacking Dave, Journey for Living Longer. And this is my start to finish of everything from calories, macronutrients, how to track things, my successes, my failures, where I was at. It's an instructional piece around everything that you need to be successful in this journey. So spend 30 minutes, just do a read. That's all you need is 30 minutes. You'll be so much more enlightened about the things that I never knew about, wish I knew of to be successful. Like this stuff here, blew my mind about how simple it was, but how complex that I needed to know about this across my entire life to be successful. I'm like, I will be successful at this when I'm 45, when I'm 50. I wish I would have known about this in my 20s. My God, can you imagine how big I'd be in my 20s at this point? Damn it, I missed so much time. So one of the things that I just read up on it and go through it. And last but not least, I'll pass it over to Ben here, but our community's here, discord.gg/WeHackHealth. Hit us up on We Hack Health. We have our weekly podcast. Listen to that podcast. We just have a lot of fun. We talk about our struggles. We talk about our successes. We talk about various topics on nutrition and health. We're 60 plus episodes in on it. The last one I talked about eating bull testicles, which, we won't go into detail on that one. But we have a great time with it. We have a great community surrounding it. And it's one of those things that we just have a great time. Weekly motivation, community. You see the themes here. It's all about building on that foundation, have people to support you to be successful in this. And if you want more information on Ben, it's bc.training. And again, I can't emphasize, for me, Ben was such a foundational piece that made me successful in this. And a lot of 90% of my success is because I've been with Ben from a personal training perspective that gave me the right framework, gave me the right tools, what I was able to do about my body. And I'm so much more confident about what I can do from here on out with it. Ben, any major closing thoughts there?
No, I think we covered it. I just want to say thanks to you for your success and how you've been able to inspire others, because I think, without the sort of influence you have within the industry, we wouldn't have been able to help so many people. And that's obviously something that's a big, that's close to home for me, is being able to help as many people on this as possible. And whether that's through the Discord or the podcast or actual coaching or whatever it is, it's just about exactly, I'll use your word, leaving this world in a better place than we find it. And I think if we can do that and accomplish that together, that's a massive piece.
Yep. Well, hey, everybody, I really want to thank you enough for the questions. Feel free to reach out to us anytime. I'm obviously on social media. Ben and I are always on the Discord server. So if you have questions about this or you want the slides, I'm happy to provide those. Just hit us up on Discord. We're always around. There's an Ask Ben channel, an AMA. There's a nutrition channel. There's, just channels on everything around your success. And it's all there. It's free. It's available. The information's there. It's now on you to get that mindset there, to build that foundation, those pillars, to do everything you can to better yourself. And it's doable. What I did here with my body is doable for everybody. Now, we all have ailments. We all have our own issues. We may have disorders or, things that are hindering us. But at the end of the day, we can do this. You can do this. It's just a matter of being there with a community that can uplift you and support you. So thank you all so much for listening to us. I really hope that you take this journey on. If you're going to start today, go out right now and go get your steps in. Go do a half hour, 45-minute walk, put a podcast on, listen to the Hacking Your Health podcast, get your steps in, move your body around, and start today. That's the key to success. Is it's not tomorrow, it's today. We're going to go and do it or make ourselves a better person because of it. So thank you all so much in the comments and the input. We always want more folks in our community sharing. We really appreciate it. Love this community.
Thanks to VetSecCon as well for having us back again.
Yep, absolutely. Hopefully we're back again next year. And again, any questions, feel free to reach out. But thanks again, everybody. Have a great weekend, and we'll chat with you soon.
Thanks.